Hello, we are recording live from Southern California. Okay, so March 5th, we're looking over about 105, 110 tickers. Overall impression for the week, the end result of the week accomplished the goal perfectly for the Bulls the way we designed it to be. So it was perfect from that perspective. The way it happened, I didn't like. We had 1 or 2 days too weak and Friday too strong. They should have blended it together. It seems like the market makers are just playing with our emotions, ours being the whole market, and people are feeding into it. That's because they insist on listening to the news. We did a better job because we were using boxes like this. So this is Apple. Buyers. If you saw this and you believed it, then you made money. At least you didn't lose money. If you were long and you got out here, you're not looking at my charts. It says buyers. You don't get out in a box that says buyers for a swing trade opportunity. Okay, speaking of which, before I go on, I have a few comments because some of you request stickers and then you make comments. So I'm going to answer a whole bunch in one. First of all, I love you too, whoever said that. Thank you very much. Also, somebody asked, could I suggest swing trades for 2 to 3 weeks? I do that, and they name tickers. And I do that like every day. Almost every day you will get a swing trade from me, 2 to 3 weeks. So I'm going to push back on you, say, have you not seen my writings anywhere? Or, the list. I post them in all the chat rooms. So if you're here, then you know what I'm doing. And I do that every day. So I'm not sure where the question is coming from. So look out for them. They're in the chat rooms. Reach out to me personally if you still don't see them. Okay, so a few of you have asked the same question. I have a lot of shares of ... What cover calls can I sell? Well, before I tell you which cover calls, you need to ask yourself, are you okay selling your shares? I had that same conversation with somebody live this week, and it turns out they're not okay. So I said I wouldn't sell any. Because if your goal is to keep your stocks forever or for at least 10, 15 years, don't put yourself in a situation where you need to sell your stock. When you sell a covered call, you are putting yourself at risk. It's not imminent, but it's at risk of waking up without your shares. So if you need specifics, reach out. Otherwise, don't do it. Some stocks don't have liquid enough tickers. So if you look at the ticker and it only has monthlies, I wouldn't do it. They're not liquid enough. And you go to roll it or cover it, and you can't, and you're stuck losing your shares. So don't do it. And then I had 2 or 3 which have a good problem. I'm up a double almost, and I don't know what to do. Like hesitation to book profits. You do not need my permission to book profits. Okay. All right. So anytime I'm wondering about booking profits, I book it, or some of it, or all of it. Depends. All right, back to charts. Now we're looking at Apple. We're going to go down alphabetically. I'm going to split it up into 2 videos. Okay, so Apple bounced exactly where it needed to. Now it's running into a problem area potentially. So anything above 152 should be a struggle. The higher you go, the more of a struggle. As soon as you hit 158, you would have cleared this, and you can dip a little bit and then take off. So here's the question. Was this a bottom? If not, we're going to 138 in the next couple of weeks. You heard it as a question, right? So if this was not a bottom, then this will fade, come back and lose this and come back to here. I would go long. You see my alert? It never hit. So I was ready to catch the falling knife in Apple. The breakout was from here. So it's okay to come back to here. It would be disappointing, but it's okay. All right. You know what I didn't do? I did not look at the calendar for next week. Do we have any idiots talking in the news, or do we have any idiotic reports that are coming out? Some GDP, whatever? I don't know. So all these comments stand on the charts all by themselves. We'll go to AbbVie. Okay, so AbbVie, higher lows, higher highs. It looks like they took out a problem area. So they have room to go to 160. I think it's too late to chase it myself. They hit my target on the way down, and they're bouncing off of it. Somewhere in the middle will lie a lot of resistance, I think. But the drop was so fast that, oh, they're in the middle right now. I think 160 should be a problem. That candle right there. 158, 160. It's not an easy starting point. And if I'm long, I would book some. Depends on why I bought it or got into it. Okay, Airbnb, this is not an obvious entry point. Like Apple, this is a weak point. So it's not inconceivable that Airbnb is at, say, 109, 110, 112 in the next few weeks. This is a trigger higher, but boy, that's a lot of work. This 132 might be an issue. This is a pretty violent stock. Yeah, this big earnings spike should not have happened. If they didn't do that giant earnings spike and they stopped at the place where they were last September, then the breakout from that would have been 150, 160. Instead, they took all of it in one bite, and now this should be a wall, that earnings spike. The only way you would convince me to go long is on dips and selling credit put spread. It's a no touch for me. If I'm long, I would book my profits as a trade, not an investment. If you're an investor, then that's different. Adobe, I got a lot of people, should I catch a falling knife? Well, in hindsight, I guess you should have. Yes was my answer to everybody. Yes, through selling puts or selling put spreads. Oh, that's right. Powell speaks twice next week. He has testimonies twice. I don't know in front of who. Probably some committee in the government and then some committee in the government, which are usually combative because those are the people that love to use that as a soapbox so they can say to constituents, I put that guy's feet against the fire. So expect fireworks from him, but he's defensive. He should be defensive. I don't know. I've given up. The guy is an idiot. He needs to be out of his job. The whole Fed should be dismantled. It's not doing its job. It's doing more damage than good. So I don't know what the point is now. Anyway, so Adobe is a good company falling on whatever. I think it was in sympathy to somebody else that reported that looks just like it. So it was an opportunity. Now, not anymore. It's back to where it fell from. So wait for the dip, sell a put spread if you did not catch a falling knife. I don't like Adobe because I don't like their management as far as managing their own stock. They don't sell themselves as a good company. They're always I don't know what to say here. They're easy to call the doom and gloom, and they don't toot their own horn. I don't like the opposite of CRM. CRM toots its own horn. Okay. Not an easy place to get long on this one. Like Apple, like Adobe, if you lose what we just bounced off of, we'll be down here. So if you force me, I will do a credit put spread, but I don't think it's liquid enough for my taste. Apparently, I did it for somebody here by request. There are buyers where they bounced. There are sellers above here. Clearly, that's a giant sell. I think it's easier to drip down and test the floor one more time. If you lose the floor, you could be at 225, 220, 215. So make sure to line up your time frame with your goals with that stock. Are you trading or are you investing? Applied Materials. Okay, they're looking to break out higher lows, one line. If they take it out, they go to here. All of my comments assume that there are no earnings coming. If there are earnings, then all my comments don't really matter. It's a coin flip over the earnings. Not an obvious entry point. On a dip into 116 or 115 may be better. AMD, same comments. On a dip would be better. I wouldn't short it. But it's hard to get long a stock. Anyway, so it is descending in a channel. We don't know if they're out of the channel. There may be. That's a pretty big fail. That's a pretty big gap enticing thing. So if the markets are higher this week, this one will go higher. I would rather be long the markets. I would be much better convinced, easier convinced if it dips into this support and I go along against that support with stops. All these are trading comments, okay? So if they lose this area of 76, they might end up at 70. Not my forecast, but 70 would be a pretty good place to go long. Whoops. There we go. Okay. Amazon finally caught a break, bounced, and the credit put spread I had in there that I had shared with a lot of you survived. Google's credit put spread survived. If you punted either of those out in time, I would suggest you close them now for green, because even the rolls are green. I know that because I rolled one, and the other one I just stood in the way of it. And if it loses for some reason 90, it could go to 84, at which point I would get really long. Amazon is a bargain down here if you say that the market is not going to collapse. It is cheap relative to its own self, price to sales perspective. I am very worried about the next earnings report. The last two were single digit growth, and the sales mix was kind of weird. So if the next one goes negative comps, I will probably change my mind about the economy. But for now, it's just a caution, not an alarm. Okay, so I'm watching it. I'm not long anymore. I had a credit put spread. It ended. On red days, I would sell another one. Wow, ouch. Yeah, the chart is not going to help you with this one. Look at the volume with which they sold it. It dwarfs everything in history. There is not a day that's even close to that volume. Nothing. Maybe August 2021. Do your homework. The chart is not going to help you with anything here. Study the company. ARC-F. They rallied from here to here. They gave back almost half. Not an entry point into 19. Not an entry point into that. An entry point above that. So you either hold longs hoping you would break out of here, and you will put yourself some stops. So you say, if I lose X% of my money, I'm out. Okay. So 1950, there are sellers. You take out 1950, maybe you get to 21. You take out 21, you're in a breakout. The easiest entry point for those is on dips. So if you trust 17, 16 and a half as support, if we go there, you get long it. You can get long now, but make sure you put stops. All these are trading comments. ASLE. I think that's one of the ones where somebody wants to sell covered calls. That's a good spot to sell a covered call. I would be shocked if it's liquid enough to do so, to make you sell covered calls. If it's not, I wouldn't do it. Just book your profits. So these pharmaceutical companies and biotech companies, I don't know what to say about them. The charts almost never give you a good clue, because out of nowhere you get these and these and these and these. It's a gamble, folks. Here's my advice on these pharmaceuticals. Hi, Luis. What you do is you get studying them inside and out, and you take a basket of a whole bunch of them and spread your risk. If you want to spend $10,000 on all of them, spread it, thousand, and then you need one hit to win. But the chart is not going to help you. You need to study the company or follow somebody who studies these companies. For credit spreads, this is never a good candidate. Never, ever a good candidate for a credit spread. You either buy the shares or buy lottery calls or puts for it. So the chart is not going to tell you anything except that it was here before and it went to the moon before and then just gave it all back up. If you think it's going to do it again, then you should have bought the dip. The chart is not going to be a good decision maker. So here's another piece of advice. This stock is an acquisition headline, correct? That's the one Microsoft, quote, bought, and it's taking 2 years to close. Okay, so that if that's the case, this makes it an arbitrage play, which means only big boys and girls can do this stuff. And when you see a big difference between the deal price and the stock price, that means it's a coin flip, whether it passes the Justice Department here or abroad or it doesn't. So it's more of a gamble than it is an investment. If you do your homework and you have inside information based on your intelligence, then take a position and hold the line. I would not use options for this. I think they just got some green light on something with that. So, right, this is the company that Microsoft bought. Anyway, if that's the case, you're running into prior fails, and you have to consider what's the buyout price. And if I'm wrong about that buyout, let me know in the video comments below. By the way, if you do like the video, comment. And you can discuss things. I mean, these are private to us, so you can discuss until I release them late to the general public. So you can discuss things in the video comments. And if you disagree with me, if I missed something, or like if I said something and that's not correct, hit me up. Not an obvious entry point, but I don't know if it's going to be 98. What was the deal price? Is it going to be 60? We don't know. When the price is so different from current price, the buyout price, then there's a discrepancy. Usually the arbitrage is just pennies, not dollars. BABA. So from a charts perspective, it might get a bounce towards 100, but it's still vulnerable to go back to 71. From a company perspective, the P&L is pretty good. From a headline perspective, I have no idea what the Chinese government has in store for its most successful company. So politicians are in charge of this mega move. If you're looking at a pitchfork of sorts, it should travel inside of a channel that looks like this. So if you're buying longs here and exiting at 104, 108, you're doing the right thing. Credit put spread could work. Sold put to own share could work. On bad days, it would be excellent. So available after hitting my target. Okay, so it hit my upside target, that green thing. I was long, and then I shorted it. In spite of saying I don't want to trade it anymore, it delivered and then some. I'm not doing anything else, personally. But it is tradable. The more you know about the Chinese political realm, the better for you, the outcome. So this is still going on, Bank of America. But I was bearish all banks for the last 2 weeks. It's hard to short it here, but I can tell you if Bank of America loses 33, it probably loses 31 too. So there is a path to Bank of America down to, I'm going to take this out so not to confuse anyone. See that head and shoulder thing right there? That gave me this. Yeah. So there's a bigger one brewing here. It doesn't have to be accurate. There's a seller in here, and if they succeed in drawing the right shoulder, now we've got something. Technically, this is the downside. I'm going to give them less than about half. This is my own spin of it. But here's the scary part. If this happens, this is a trigger for much lower prices. What does that mean? I think that by then, Powell would have done something dramatic. If that happens, that means Powell did something. Change his mind, something. Available. So you see what I'm saying? There was a head and shoulders here, and it played out perfectly. They went to here. And now they could be drawing the right shoulder of a bigger one, which could come down to here. And look at this. Elliott Wave kind of agrees, although I don't trade Elliott Wave. It's kind of a liar. So be careful with Bank of America. I don't know what BLDE is. Whatever it is, it's in the middle of a range. And your fight is between 5.2 and 4.1. Each of those lines are catalysts. So if you lose 4.1, the entry point would be under 3.8. And if you take out 5.2 or 5.1 actually, then you might be going to like 5.8. Builders Resource. That's amazing that a company that deals with builders is still doing so well. I don't know anything about it. When a stock goes into an all-time high situation, I take it off my watch list. Hopefully you're not asking me to get long. If you are, you and I need to have a conversation. Or I should tell you right now, never in my entire life will I tell anybody, yes, it's okay to go long because it's in a breakout. That's not me. There are other people on Benzinga that do that. They specialize in that. I bet you if I sell calls against all the calls they buy, against them, not the same ones, I would make more money than they. Let me rephrase it. I will have more wins under my belt than they would have wins. Because the breakouts, if you chase them this late, You could make money, but they're rare. So this is not for me. I want an obvious entry point, and this is definitely not an obvious entry point. If you're looking to short it, fine, but what are you shorting? There's nothing here. So usually when I short, I say, okay, if I shorted it here, I'll say I'm shorting it against that. Whoop, 1 second. That was a sneeze. Okay, so not an obvious entry point either way. BlackRock. This is I think the largest private equity manager or something. They manage trillions of dollars. They literally probably control our destiny. What they want happens. That's what they call passive money. They make bets and they don't back out. So the stock has sellers around 710 to 720. It could go to 730, but it has sellers up here. Outstanding company, I don't know why it would fall. So if it's an investment and pays a dividend, maybe you own it. You can sell puts probably to own shares if it's liquid enough. Blackstone, shorted it successfully. You see how it's bouncing? It's not at my target, but it's bouncing into resistance. So there's going to be sellers here somewhere into 93. This is a company that I've gone long and short for us. And this pattern is what it does. Check it out. So I copied this and I moved it over to here. And it's playing out. I don't know if it's going to come back all the way down to 80 or 78, but it could. So not an obvious entry point after the bounce. If you want to sell a credit put spread like we've done before, maybe. Not very liquid. I didn't like it. I did it last time with you, but I didn't like it. Beyond Meat is a, I don't know when the rhetoric is going to come out that plant-based food is not, it's horrific for the environment. We can debate that. Because if you raise a cow and you kill a cow, you're just destroying one thing. But if you want to plant for plant foods, you have to destroy your ecosystems in order to plant your stuff. So if it heats up as a talking point, it might affect the stock long term. My problem with Beyond Meat, I eat it, by the way, but my problem with that is the management. At one point, I thought they were brilliant, and then never did I hear anything else. The good thing is it's above 17. 17, 16 now should be pretty strong floor. Even though Elliott Wave is pointing lower, yes, it could be a head and shoulders. Yes, it could come back to 14, but it's not an obvious thing. It's not an obvious entry either. So if it dips back into 17 or 16, that would be a better entry point. And it is a meme stock. A stock that moves this fast is not for me at all. If I'm stuck in it as an investor, I would be seeking to get out. Because I don't know if I trust that management team long term. So I don't know what that is. Not an obvious entry point. Also not an obvious entry point, but better than before. So if you know the company and you want to get long it, you're finding an entry point down there. Coin, I would never touch this stock. I like crypto. The conversation is heating up around crypto via the CBDB, whatever they call it, central bank digital currency, CBDC. Alarms are going off now that the government's getting into crypto. Everybody's freaked out. Oh, control this and control that. So everybody's missing the point that crypto is going to be a winner in the long term. I did tell you that everybody in this room and everybody that I know will have to deal with crypto on a daily basis in their life. Everybody looks at me like I'm speaking some foreign language they don't understand. That is a fact, in my opinion. And so we're closer to it. How will that affect all crypto? I don't know. I think Ethereum is going to benefit because if they do CBDC, it's going to be over some Ethereum network because it's the biggest, most established, most stable, most history. So there are fewer questions than, say, Solana. Okay, so back to coin. I wouldn't want to trade the stock because it trades with crypto, but it also trades with stocks and markets and crypto banks. So it has all the variables at the same time. Whereas if I wanted to trade crypto, I should just focus on coins. so that I'm trading that one coin and nothing else. Apparently, from Friday's strength, there was weakness in crypto. So for a minute, crypto was a safe haven, and now money is coming out of crypto, going back into stocks. That's the only thing I can explain. So for the last 3 days, I get nothing but alerts. Mana down 10%, blah, blah, down 20%, 5%. And yesterday, they're starting to stabilize again. So all the money that poured out of crypto must have gone into the economy. Stocks, maybe. I don't know. Coin is not the way to trade it. Speaking of coin, it's in a spot that is a battle zone between bulls and bears. There's nothing to do here. If I own the shares, I'm sitting on them, maybe selling covered calls. If I'm looking to own the shares as an investment, I'm cautioning you out of it. But it's not a bad company. It's just weird how it earns and how its sales fell off a cliff and nobody's worried. Look at the revenues. Quarterly revenues. Look at that. 2.5 billion, 1.1. That's, what is it, less than half? What is it? The revenue is 0.8, 0.6, not even, and 6, 0.6. So you go from 2.5 to 0.6 in 1, 2, 3, in a year and one. So in 5 quarters, your sales get demolished and nobody's worried? Yeah, not for me. As an investment. As a trade, it's not an obvious entry point. Costco, I like it. I don't mind it down here. It's not an obvious entry point because of technical reasons, but this is a good company with the opposite of coin's problem with sales. It's not shrinking, and on the yearly basis, it's growing. So a better entry would be below 450. It could come down to 420. Depends on what happens with the market. All by itself, it wouldn't. I had a target down here. It did most of it, and then it bounced pretty high, so it kind of negated that. I don't need that, but that is still in play. It would take some serious bad market moves. Earnings are coming, or did they report? They reported. So caution, they do report in the beginning of every month, maybe on Monday, comps for the month before. Comp sales, and it usually moves a lot on those headlines. You'll see them, boom, boom, massive moves up and down, like this one and this one. So they do come out. Campbell's soup. Everybody needs a little Campbell's soup in their in their portfolio. This was an all-time high, I believe, right? Yes. So the company is doing well when the market is struggling. This is a bizarre stock. That's the only way I can define it. So if it comes down below 50, I would pile some for my account, like just shares. It pays some dividends, and it's a good stock to own. Trading wise, I haven't gotten a beat on it. It doesn't respect anything. It doesn't respect technicals for me. I have not been able to forecast it well. So if you're investing in it, just own some at different intervals. And if you're trading it, I think there are easier traders out there. Coupang fell on earnings. Let's take out everything. Okay, so it wants to stabilize. The P&L looks okay. I don't know much about the company. So you're going to have to trust it that the lows it placed in 2022 are the lows. So if it comes down to 12, I'll put it on my watch list. Add Coupang to watch list. I don't think I've ever traded it. I'll have to do homework on it to see what it is. It kind of looks like it just lost support or trying to lose support. So 12 could be in the cards. I can tell you there are sellers into 1550. Yep, this week is important for Coupang. There are sellers here. Okay. Korean retailer. All right. CRM, you sell everything, you pile in, all in, because these are great candles. No, I'm being sarcastic. You don't. You missed it. Okay. You missed it. Do you remember how much they hated it when it announced buying Slack? And they were selling it off like it's going out of business. And the company has incredible history. This company created the idea of the cloud. What did he just say? This is the company that fixed Microsoft because it beat it. It came onto the scene, it competed with Microsoft, beat it, then they were tiny. And they broke every growth record known to Wall Street. The fastest company to this money sales, the fastest company to this, the fastest company to that. And everybody complained, oh, these are pro formas. Look at them. They convinced the world that subscription, software as a service in a subscription model is the way to go. Look at them now. Nobody sells standalone software anymore, except a few game companies. And even they are struggling. Nobody does that. Microsoft, you don't wait for the next release of Windows or Microsoft Office. You just subscribe to Office. Adobe, all of them. So this is the company that created that. And it was selling off like it's going out of business. The easy work is done. Now it has to contend with this chunk. So I think there are sellers into 210 and 220. I wouldn't short it, although a lot of you contacted me to short it. And if you want to short it, credit call spread, debit put spread. And buy the dip. So you can even do a debit put spread short term and a credit and a debit call spread long term. Like play both sides. Say, okay, it's gonna dip. I'm gonna make some money off of it, and then I'm gonna catch a falling knife. I don't know if I would do that. Actually, the thing would be better is if you do a debit put spread to capture the short opportunity here, and a credit put spread longer term, saying, yes, I expect it to drop into this, but it's good long term. So you finance this bearish position with a bullish position, and you could make money from both. That's how I would trade it right now if you force me. Crocs, I don't understand the stock. That move was hellacious, but at least they came back to real life, to reality. Not an obvious entry point. Look left. Anytime you got in, last time you got in, up here, you got beat. So let's look at it shorter term. 130 is a problem and higher. And if you lose 116, you might even lose 111 and go to like 95. That scenario still exists. It's not a forecast. It's stuck between an extreme high and an extreme low. Nothing to do new. CrowdStrike. Okay, so what these lines mean is that they are in an ascending channel and they're buying dips. That's what these arrows mean. It's not like I was bearish. I was saying they're buying the dip, buy the dip, buy the dip, buy the dip, buy the dip. So they are beating resistance. So this is a proper beatdown on the bears, and the bears don't even know it. Now you're coming into an area that was a problem. Look at this. 2022 May, that was a disaster scenario. They tried to hold it, they tried to recover it, they lost it, and now they're back into it. This area with these three lines should not be easy. So even though the bulls have complete control over the short term with buy the dip scenario, now they're coming into a tough spot. So their best odds are to just go sideways inside like this and then just follow the market. Buy the dip would be the next thing that I would do. I would attempt a credit put spread if it falls into 116. There are no easy trades on CrowdStrike. CVS, I could go long. Somebody came to me from somebody else's trade that they wanted to go long. My problem with going long here is that they just lost a super hard floor and they're falling into a harder floor but older. So this is from 2021. I don't know if it holds or if it goes to 77. So if it goes to 78, 77, I'll put an alert right here, right now. I'll be interested. If you force me, that was weird. If you force me to go long, I would sell a put spread and or buy a debit call spread with time on the clock. Okay? So I would not force the issue with it, like buy shares or buy immediate calls. I can go long, but only with a credit put spread. Look at that, convincing. Conviction. It's an okay spot, not ideal. This one is definitely not an ideal entry point. CZR, I had a whole bunch of casinos to short up here, and I dragged my feet long, and I missed the opportunity. They're going back into that contention zone. If you want to get long, I would get long on a dip. If you have longs, I would trim inside here. If they take out 57, they could run, but I don't know how much. Okay, so if they take out 57, they can get to 70 or 66. I would exit there for sure. DoorDash. Why do I remember like I shared a trade in it? So this is a 1 hour chart. The easy work is done, bouncing off of 52 zone. I think it has sellers hiding into 60. So how fast are you? Long term, if it's an investment thing, I don't mind the business. On dips, it's better. The closer to 50, the better. Datadog. 78, 79, and 80 are seller zones. So if they do sell them there and they fall to 74, I want them to see hold the 73. If you lose this one, the entry point would be around under 70. A lot of buyers here and lower. So if I wanted to jump the gun and sell puts down here to own shares, I could, but I don't know if I want to jump the gun and buy calls. And if I do, I'd make them longer dated so I don't have to sweat every tick. Maybe a call calendar, call diagonal. DraftKings. Not an obvious entry point. Decent P&L, I think. Decent outlook. Technically, it's too strong. This was too weak. This is too strong. Somewhere in the middle lies the truth. So the closer to 17, the better. 16 would be awesome. Yeah. So hopefully none of you here bought up here. Because if you look left, last time somebody bought up here, look at what happened to them. Twice. Before. My God. I mean, when will people learn? Down here, into 17, under 18 would be the only time I would chase it. So I caught the falling knife for us with this one. Credit put spread on the way down. And it worked out. It's not very liquid, and I don't want to touch it down here. My trade was not an investment. And this was my target. They can still go there. If they don't recapture 320, I think they're going to 260, 270. I don't have enough conviction to short it, though. I mean, it's freaking pizza. How could you mess that up? I speak from experience. I used to do FP&A for restaurants, so I know how easy it is to forecast a restaurant if you have a formula as simple as theirs. Except I think Pizza Hut. That's Domino's. Wait. Yeah, Domino's. Never mind. Didn't Pizza Hut change its name to Hut because now they serve pastas and all of that? All right, so let's go back to this one. Devon Energy. If you're long, okay, so this is my forecast. I don't have to say anything. This is still my forecast. They need to be above 60 and close and come back to 58 and bounce and take out 60 for this not to happen. Otherwise, I think it's going there. Don't ask me why. That's my opinion. You can argue with it. The sellers into 60, I'm very confident. Enphase, sellers into 225, 224, also very confident. So I would not buy calls here. This was my target. They hit my target, so I wouldn't short it. But this bounce is running into a huge problem from the earnings. And the earnings were great, and this happened. So how are they going to take this out? There's a chance this stock is at 176. I would sell a credit put spread, but I'm not incentivized. What does that do? What is this? Okay, whatever it is, it just bounced off of support. It's going to have sellers into 52. If you take out 52, you might challenge 54.5. If you take out 54.5 or 55, you might get to 60. So you do have support. And if you bought the dip, good job. ET, is this energy transfer? Okay. Look, they're buying dips, but they're dealing with a lot of sellers here. I don't think it's going to be easy to break out of 1340. If you do take out 1370, you have another leg higher like this. So you can get to 1450 maybe. Oof. Again, whoever bought it here is not part of our group because I preach to look left all the time. All right, so a better purchase would be below 12. I think you'll have an opportunity to get long around 1050. Don't hold out for that, but it's available. Ethereum, I'm long Ether. So Ethereum is the process. Ether is the coin that supports the process. This coin held up better than Bitcoin on the Bitcoin crash because everybody rushed to get their money out and move their money from point A to point B. And guess what they paid? Ether. So the coin, demand on the coin Ether went up. So Ether never made a lower low when Bitcoin made an extremely low low. Okay, so higher lows and a 1750 fail. You take out 1750, 1770, I think it goes to 2100. I'm not selling mine. I'll sell it in the 4,000 area. I'll sell it when Bitcoin hits 42,000 to 46,000 as a trade. And even then, I'll leave some on. Google was a good entry into support. I was long. I stayed long. I punted and I closed. What does that mean? My credit put spread got in trouble because it was higher than the one I suggested. I suggested 89.86 or 89.87. I took 90.92 and I got in trouble. So I rolled it to next week, and then with the rally on Friday, the roll made money, so I got out for even money. So I practiced what I preached. I stayed out of trouble, and when that trouble position, even though it looks like it's good next week, I'm out. On the next dip into 90, 91, I would re-engage. If it loses 88, I don't know why it would. We go down to here, and then we have bigger warning signs. But if that happens, we are in deep Bandini with the market. This was the trade I was talking about. This worked out. It ended last week. If you moved it, rolled it from last week, you're green, green, green. You should close it on Monday. Powell is scaring the betictics out of me with his incompetence. Okay. Complete disregard for humanity. Halliburton, if you bought it here, you're opening yourself for some disappointment. I think, wait, that's not it. That's Hindustan or whatever. Gosh, dang it. Oh my God. Where is the Halliburton company? Okay, same. If you're going long this here, what are you doing? I think the better entry would be into 37.50. Below 38 for sure. If you're investing for the future, then what are you doing trying to time it? Just invest. Don't go all in. Take half and add the other half when you lose 25% of your money. Or when you get a breakout, complete breakout. Okay, go back to Halliburton. What is HKD? Okay, so I have nothing to say. What? I have nothing to say. Hood, proud owner of 100 shares, deep underwater because I forgot to close a sold put trade one time. So this is a buyout. That's all there is to it. Somebody's gonna buy them out, and I wouldn't trade it. I mean, the company's okay. There's losing less money, it looks like, but sales are not growing, and it's pretty bizarre. I think they're primed for a buyout. Somebody should gobble them up. If they have 20 million users, that's 20 million new clients. At what point will they offer them the buyout? Intel, I would avoid Intel. I used to be a proponent of the company. I think you can get it as a teenager. If the markets have another hiccup, I think Intel will lose 20. I don't want to short it, but I used to say buy it for the long term. I don't want to say that anymore. Management is lackluster to be nice about it. They are the Cadillac. They used to be like they are the giant. They were Ford, and they let all the other car maker beat them. I saw a meme yesterday about a Ford car, brand new, comes with zip ties under. They have like a piece under the front end, behind the front end clip that's tied with zip ties from the factory. What? Is it on the Explorer? So if you have an Explorer, you have zip ties under your front end. Like, what? I mean, I use zip ties, but I'm not Ford and I'm not selling a car. Okay, so Intel, good fundamentals, extremely cheap, but for a reason. Management needs to step up. IonQ. Great rally. Maybe they cover the gap, but now they're going to go into sellers. So the closer you come to here, the too late. And if it comes back down to 460, would be a better entry point. J&J will never trade it again. Caused me too much grief for nothing. Piece of crap. The company is stable-ish, but look, this should be boring, and look at this price action. It's unbelievable. Yeah, it's cheap, but you can have it. If you're looking to buy J&J for the super long term, nibble with stocks. And I say nibble because you might get it cheaper. Calls and sold puts and all of that. Sold puts if you want to own shares. Yes, maybe. KO, also boring company, and look at this price action. It did hit my target, the orange line. That was mine. This is the official of this Head and Shoulders. So from that perspective, we crushed it. Right now, it's in the middle of the range between the high and the low. So the closer to that big candle you are, the better long it is. So if you took long now, that's fine. But you're guessing that they're going to take this out before this out. I don't know that. All I know is every time it gets into these moving averages is getting sold. So this is the place where, so the first important spot is 59.9. LAC battery play, right? I think. So at some point it used to trade with Tesla. I can tell you, I think it's still in danger of going to 15. Still in danger, not that it's going to 15. I think there are sellers into 26, and if they're not taken out, I think these white arrows are still in play. This is mine, and this is the technical target. Of course, it has buyers along the way. So what I'm saying is, if I'm investing in it, I would only take a partial position, just in case. Laser. If you have a lot of longs, and you're very profitable, I would get out, or trim, or lock. Sell some covered calls if it's liquid enough. This is the battle between LiDAR and eyeballs for self-driving, self-guiding, whatever. This is not a place you start longs, therefore it's a place you can close longs. This is definitely not a place you start longs. Now, you take this out, you're probably going to take this out, you're probably going to go to like 13 or 14. So if you're okay seeing money go away, like you exit and book a double and it doubles, if you're okay with that, I am. I did it Friday. I had a double, and it could have been a quadruple, and I did something that ruined it. So I capped myself at a double. But not for a minute did I say, go back and start counting the money I missed out on. And it was substantial. Why? Because I did the right thing. And that's my system. And that's why I can trade for a living, because I do the right thing as many times as possible. Okay, Head and Shoulders maybe brewing. See? That's still in play. So that's still in play. It's not a forecast. It's a scenario. I know there are sellers into 101. So plan accordingly. Lyft. Not for me. The company told me they don't know what they're doing. During the earnings report, when it got collapsed, they said they were talking about bicycles and whatever. Like what? Yeah. If you want it to be in that space, even though they're not the same company, Uber is the better one. This one, no. They want it to be from the decision where they said, we're not Uber, we're small time. That's almost literally what they said. We're going to focus on this market and that market and nothing else. So they basically told you their ambitions are limited. No, yeah, scooters and bicycles or something like that. So no. It only takes one death on one scooter, Lyft scooter, and then suddenly they're in a lawsuit for years and years. It probably has happened. Okay, we're going to stop here for and the recording.